Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mila, you're at my book nook, and today I'm going to recommend you some standalone fantasy books. Let's get right to it. So the first book I have is Blood Over Bright Haven by Emma Wang. This is a standalone, and she also has another book called The Sword of Kaigen, which is also a standalone. I think it was supposed to be part of a series, but she decided not to pursue that venue. So Blood Over Bright Haven was first indie published, and then it was picked up by a traditional publisher. So Blood Over Bright Haven follows our main character. I believe her name was Siona. It's been a minute since I read this, but it follows our main character, and she is the first female mage in her world, in her city, essentially. And they're in how I imagined it was a city, and then there's like a bubble around it, so they're protected from like outside forces, so to speak. I don't know if that was supposed to be the way I imagined it, but that is how I imagined it. So she is the first female mage, and she's what's the word? She's incredibly, I've forgotten the word. It will come back to me. She is someone who will do anything to achieve her want of being a female mage, even at the expense of others. So, and this is important. So basically, she goes to like the academy because she, got accepted as the first female mage. And the magic is like a typewriter, and then you have like a little thing, and yeah. Anyways, so as a joke, a cruel one of the male mages, again, she's the only female mage, one of the male mages assigns her the janitor, as whose name I've forgotten, Tommen? I think it's Tommen, as her apprentice, so to speak, instead of giving her like a proper apprentice. Little does she know that he is the exact person that she should want. He's the exact person that she should want, and that he knows more about magic than everyone in the city. Tommen is part of a minority group that lives on the outskirts of this city, and if they go in, they are very much enslaved, essentially. These people go missing, they're treated very poorly, they're treated as if they're stupid. Tommen is anything but stupid. They are hunters. It's very similar to the whole like indigenous and then colonizers kind of interactions, and how the colonizers reacted to the indigenous with their systems and everything. So and our main character finds out something about this magic, and and then it goes from there. I feel like I didn't explain that very well, but I think one thing about this book is that you should probably just read the prologue and go into it blind. You can read the synopsis, but I think the best way to go about it is just to go into it blind without really knowing much. So that's book number one. The next book I have is, I actually have a physical copy, but it is Deathless by Catherynne M. Valente, and this is a book I picked up because I wanted something beyond the typical Russian-inspired fantasy, and this one fell across my radar, essentially, and I had to go to an indie bookstore to get it because none of the other bookstores had it. So Deathless is about specifically the story of Kashey the Deathless, or Maria Morevna and Kashey the Deathless. And basically we follow Maria Morevna, who is the main character, and she essentially grows up sort of during and post revolution. So she grows up during the Soviet Union, and then they deal with the war. Is it pre-revolution? I think so. Or maybe it's post, or it's during. I think it's post. I don't remember correctly because it's fairly vague with its years, I think. But you can sort of guess because it's set in St. Petersburg, and St. Petersburg is known by different names throughout the years. So basically, Maria Morevna is a character from Russian folklore, and essentially the story goes that Kashey the Deathless kidnaps her. She manages to capture Kashey the Deathless. He is shackled in the basement of her castle, essentially. She tells her husband, do not go to the basement. Do not go into this room. He doesn't listen. Classic men behavior. And so he goes, and then Cachet's like, oh, I am so tired. I am so weak. Please give me some water. So he gives him enough pails of water to then be able to break from the chains. He literally cuts the husband up. I don't remember what the husband's name was. It's like Ivan or something like that. Ivan or something. Is it Ivan? I think. And so his sisters help him with the help of their husbands, because he has 3 sisters. And Cachet the Deathless, like Mighty Morning that comes back, Cachet the Deathless kidnaps her, and then the husband has to go find Mighty Morning. Anyways, she's a pretty badass character in general. So this one is set primarily during the Soviet Union, so you see some of the sort of imagery and sort of the beliefs of the people at the time. And this is just really interesting because it blends fantasy and historical in a really interesting way, because you literally have like Stalinist house elves. So I just think this was a really, really unique book. It's not like an easy read, but I really enjoyed the writing style, so I would very much recommend. That is Deathless by Catherynne M. Valente. The next book I have is somewhere. It is Where the Dark Stands Still by A.B. Poranek. This is Slavic and specifically Polish folklore. I do not shut up about this book because I read it last year, I believe, and I really, really loved it, and I need book 2, and the author doesn't want to give me book 2 because what the hell was that ending? We follow our main girl Liska, who has magic, and she lives in this small village, and she is ostracized because of this magic, but there's something that happened that sort of haunts her, and the villagers don't really know the truth about it, but she's definitely ostracized, so she decides to leave on eve of this festival, and she decides to go into the forest to find the fern flower. And it is said that if you find the fern flower, you are then able to make a wish. You are granted 1 wish, and her wish is to get rid of the magic. She finds the fern flower. She doesn't only find the fern flower. She finds the Leji, the guardian of the forest. This is a real character from Slavic mythology. In this book, he is very much like a young man who turns into a deer. So, yeah. I don't know why I said that, but I just in like Slavic mythology, he's like an older, like guardian forest grandpa-ish character. In this one, he's very much very young in appearance, so to speak. And he actually reminds me, every time I think of him, I don't know why, but I imagine Lee Pace as Thranduil because of like the horns. Like he has horns coming out of his head. Anyways, that's beside the point. So she meets the Leji, and the Leji's like, oh, you want the fern flower? Okay, stay in my house for a year, and if you survive, I'll grant your wish. And so, yeah, that's all I can really say. That's all I'm going to say, So, yeah, the next book I have is The Witch and the Tsar. Now, if you know me, this is one of my absolute favorite books of all time. This is a retelling, a reimagining of Baba Yaga set during the reign of Ivan the Terrible, Ivan Grozny, as he's known. He was the first Tsar of the Russians, so to speak, and he was not a good guy. First Grand Tsar, I think, or something like that. So we follow our main character Yaga, who is a half goddess and half witch. In the stories, she is just this sort of not ambiguous, but not entirely malevolent, not entirely good. Like she's a very morally gray character. So we follow her as she is a half goddess, half witch. And she has a friend Owl, she has a friend Wolf, the Izbushka, the house on chicken legs, she calls Little Hen, and it's very much a standalone. I wish we could get more in this style because this was absolutely beautiful. Basically, Yaga's friend Anastasia, who was the first wife of Ivan the Terrible, I believe. There's so many Anastasias in history, man. I can't keep track of them all. So many Ivans, too. Like, come on, really? So she comes to Yaga being like, hey, I'm being poisoned and nobody at the palace knows what's going on. So Yaga, who's essentially a pagan, right? She has to go to Moscow and figure out what's happening with Anastasia before it gets worse. And there is Kachi the Deathless in this, just an FYI, and there's a slight, there's a past. But yeah, I really love this one because it's very much full story, and I just want more in this style, in this genre, in this format from this author because it was so beautifully done. It was so well researched. And there are snippets of Russian words in text, which made my diaspora heart very, very warm. So it was very, very good. The next book I have is the Book of Gothel. So as you can see, there's a slight, I guess, pattern here with the type of books that I'm recommending you, besides like Blood Over Brighthaven, I think, is very much, they're written in similar styles, they're written in similar sort of stories in mind, sort of beats in a sense, if that makes sense. I don't know if that makes sense. Does that make sense? But basically, the Book of Gothel follows our main character, who is actually known as Mother Gothel in like the story of Rapunzel, but Gothel is not her name. Gothel is the name of the tower where, in the end, like Rapunzel is taken, and she sort of has like witchy powers, and it's very much rooted in history. I don't know where my copy is off the top of my head. I genuinely do not know. I literally cannot find it. Where is my copy of Book of Gothel? Unless I gave it away. I don't think I gave it away. So yeah. So that is the Book of Gothel. I would highly recommend if you enjoy the story of Rapunzel and the Disney movie Tangled, but you want a different perspective, so to speak. And that twist was kind of crazy at the end. I am actually so confused. Anyways, the last book I have is one that probably all of you have heard of, and some of you might have already read, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And no, this is technically not a standalone, but you can literally just read The Hobbit and never pick up Lord of the Rings. And that is totally fine, because you do you. Me personally, I don't know about y'all, but y'all see this? That's my Tolkien shelf. Sorry. That Tolkien shelf. Only Tolkien books. Nothing else. So The Hobbit follows... The Hobbit follows our main character Bilbo as he is taken on this adventure to help the dwarves as the burglar. They have to go to the Dwarven kingdom, Erebor, and they have to essentially take back Erebor from the great dragon Smaug. And this is a very, very short book. Actually, it's like 10 hours on audiobook, 5 if you do it at double speed. And, well, I think I did it at double speed. Or maybe did I do it at 1.5? I definitely did it faster than 1 times, like the regular speed. But Andy Serkis is such a fantastic narration, and I really, really enjoyed it. So there's that. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts down below. And yeah, I will see you in the next one. Happy reading!